past 8 months. For those who don't know, I haven't played Age of Empires 4 since January 31st, and I only know that because Steam told me. TLDR and why, dog died in December, made me realize I don't want to play Age of Empires 4 anymore. I hated the meta, and I'm gone. I wanted to go through that quickly because now you're going to notice my first Age of Empires video and me streaming Age of Empires 4 for the first time in, like I said, 8 months. Now, why am I streaming Age of Empires 4 now? Because I'm going to be honest, I didn't think I was going to be playing this game anymore. I was pretty sure I was done with Age of Empires 4 because I could not stand the late game. I couldn't stand anything to do with the late game. And maybe that still ends up being the case, but then I saw these patch notes, and that got me super excited. Now, I'm going to just state this for the record. I am going to play the pup. I'm going to play some games and all that fun stuff. I want to see how it all plays out. But I will not be playing the normal version of Age of Empires 4 until this patch comes out. Once this patch comes out, I'm planning on playing again, and we'll see how that goes. I also have a puppy, so she's kind of a priority in my life at the moment, so I cannot say I doubt I'll be streaming 5 days a week, 3 hours a day for a long time. My puppy literally takes a lot of my time, and I got to put my effort towards her, especially because I'm training her now. So, with all that being said, let's begin the fun part of why. Why is Blade so excited for this pup? Which I just want to state, to show you guys how excited I am, I think this patch is probably aiming to be my second favorite patch throughout all of Age of Empires 4. The first one was when they redid Siege the first time, where, Mangonel's popped, Springold's popped, but this one, in my eyes, is like a part 2 of that first patch. That's how excited I am for this. So without further ado, we're just going to go straight into it. And this might surprise you guys, but the multiplayer pause is now added to the game. That is not why I'm coming back. That is a nice change. And from what I saw, how the multiplayer pause works is you pause once, 30 seconds, the opponent can unpause it, and then after that, if you pause again, there is no timer and your opponent can immediately unpause. There's 2 new maps into the game, Atacama, which I actually think I know what map this is, but I don't remember off the top of my head, and Lakeside. This is going to surprise you guys, I'm sure, for anyone who's watched my videos over the past 3 years. I don't like this map already because it has water. At least it sounds like it has water. So, already not a fan. I'm not going to go over the bug fixes. You can look at that yourself. I will note this one. The projectiles are updated in the game now. They're smoother and more natural, and they look better. And I did see some videos of this, and it does. So, like, when your archers are close together, they actually just instantly shoot each other. Like, the arrows don't, like, do some weird trajectory. And I believe arrows no longer overkill, because where it says here, units will no longer fire projectiles at units in their death animation. That's theoretically a buff to, like, keeps, outposts, town centers, archers, because they don't overkill anymore. But we'll see. In general, I think it does look really good, by the way. I think it's a nice little change. They've added some new post-game graphs. Again, total resources gathered. I'm not going to really go over that. We already talked about the pause. Okay. We skipped through the boring stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff. The first being Siege gameplay. Everyone who's ever watched my stream has known I hate Siege. So, the developer overview. Our goal with the Siege update is to slow down siege-on-siege combat by removing the anti-siege rule from Springolds and Culverins, and increasing time to kill on many siege interactions. With these adjustments, winning the backline siege battle will now mean you have effective tools for pushing on the field. Additionally, adjustments to siege durability have been made across the board to tune unit to siege interactions. Specifically, ranged units will no longer one-shot or never kill siege weapons, and instead will do more consistent damage to all siege. High level changes directly below, and that's what we'll be go over. By the way, hey Adne, long time no see. I literally haven't seen you in a long time. So, the first exciting thing is Springolds were reworked from being an anti-siege unit to an anti-melee infantry role. They have special projectiles that pierce their target, and then it passes through and deals, like, I guess you could say, splash damage. Kind of like Scorpions in Age of Empires 2, although I think they work differently from what I've seen a little bit. Culverins are also no longer anti-siege, and now they're a unique bombard replacement for several civilizations. And then everything was adjusted for the armor of all siege engines. So for those who were curious before, for example, Rams, you'll see here that Rams and Siege Towers reduce incoming range damage by 95%. The way it was before, it was set to a number. So I think it was 30 range damage. So theoretically, if a unit did, say, 40 range damage, it did 10 damage to a Ram. Whereas with this, it doesn't matter how much damage the range unit does. It's only going to do 5% of the damage. Bombards, cannons, and culverins were reduced to 85%. Trebuchets 80%. Mangonels and nested bees is reduced to 75%. Springolds are at 60%. Ribaltoquins are at 35%. The health has also been reduced from bombards to 240 to 210. We already talked about the ranged armor. The base damage has been reduced from 100 to 50, and then it gains plus 50 bonus damage to infantry. So what this base damage reduces for is, I think, mainly for cavalry. So now, like, horsemen, knights will only take 50 damage instead of 100. So really, you know, it still does 100 damage to infantry. Nothing's changed there. Just, it feels like a buff to cavalry. The culverin's been reworked as a unique bombard emplacement, where pretty much the health was reduced to 200, 325 wood, 450 gold. We already talked about that. The base damage was reduced to 40, again with the plus 40 damage versus infantry, again a buff to the cavalry. No longer has bonus damage versus siege. The reload time was increased from, you know, that to that. Range reduced from 12 to 11, and it fully replaces the bombards for HRE, Order of the Dragon, Abbasid, and Ayyubids. And Malians no longer have the culverin anymore. Cannons are, which I think is the French cannon, might be the special cannon. You know, same thing. Reduced to 55, plus 55 bonus damage versus infantry. Great bombards. You know, they've also, same thing. Base damage reduced, gains plus 50. You know, I'm not going to go into the numbers too much on these because I don't think they matter too much. And then the Springold. So the Springold cost has been reduced. Right now it's 250 wood, 250 gold. It's 150 wood, 100 gold. A lot cheaper. But again, it's not an anti-siege unit anymore, so it makes sense. Health was reduced to 75. It now has melee armor, 3 instead of 0. The base damage has been decreased from 30 to 15, but it does gain a plus 10 bonus versus melee infantry. I'm a little surprised they didn't do plus 15 to put it to the same base damage it was before this base damage nerf. But so it does 25 to melee infantry. Range was reduced to 8. Population is now 2. Can fire through multiple units, and it does not have homing projectiles. What does that mean? That means you can dodge. And that's another key factor into this whole siege update I'll talk about shortly. Roller shutter triggers now only provides plus 25% attack speed, does not provide additional range, which again is good. Counterweight trebuchet, you know, population is now 2. Normal trebuchet, or the traction trebuchet, 2 population. Health has been reduced for both, same range to resistance. The Hugh Pow actually, oh, I didn't realize this. The Hugh Pow did not receive a ranged nerf. It received just the range resistance. All right, now for the mangonels. This is a huge change in many ways. The ranged armor, you know, again we talked about that. The bonus damage versus ranged increased from 6 to 8. It now does 30 damage to buildings instead of 24. The range was reduced from 9 to 8. The responsiveness has been improved. The aim time is reduced from 0.5 to 0.25. The wind down increased from 2.25 to 0.25. Okay, so looking at these right here, if you just read those, you'd be like, oh my god, mangonels are going to be insane. And then you get to each boulder's blast radius was reduced from 0.875 to zero point 0.5. A pretty significant blast radius nerf. And the projectile spread reduced from 0.75 to 0.5 tiles. And here's the biggest one. It no longer predicts movement and instead fires directly at the target. That means you no longer have to time when to dodge the mangonel. If let's pretend this is the mangonel, my hand right here, and this is a unit. If you just walk this way and the mangonel fires, the mangonel is going to miss because it's going to fire at the spot it originally fired at, and that's where it's going to hit. It no longer follows where the unit's moving unless you change the direction. So mangonels now work more like, I would say, Age of Empires 2, where it was the same way. It fires, and that's where it's going to hit no matter what. I love it. I love that mangonel change. I love that there's no longer springolds in terms of being used as a counter. Now, I do know there's some concerns. Will the mangonel miss if we attack ground in front of the enemy? So that's another thing you can do with the mangonel is you can use the attack ground move is going to be used a lot more now. And if you use it on a specific direction and the enemy units walk into it, it will hit it. So as long as obviously it hits it, that's what matters. So these changes alone, if this was all they added to the game, I would be playing regardless. By the way, we have other exciting stuff to talk about. But I just want to go over the importance of this siege change, and these changes alone are why I'm interested in Age of Empires 4 again. Because now it's a lot easier to dodge mangonel shots. And I don't think you're going to see mass siege armies anymore. Now, if I can get anyone from chat interested later, I do want to do some testing on some real case scenarios in game. I don't want to actually. I'll talk about that later. That's not the point of this video, or this portion right here. So mangonels now take more of a skill, because now if you can predict or where you think your opponent's going to move his units to, you could attack around there and hit them, or it's going to be kind of mind games, right? You're going to try to predict. And then if it doesn't go there, it doesn't do damage, so on and so forth. This alone is very exciting to me. I'm very, very excited to actually try this out because, my lord, Siege has been the bane of my existence. And while the initial Siege change was very exciting, and I really did enjoy it, over time, mass Siege was still a thing in the late game. It became mangonels, springolds, bombards. If you lost the Springold War, you pretty much were screwed. And I have seen some videos of this in action, and it is I will give you guys a teaser, by the way. On Thursday, I'm hosting a show match between Wham and Anatan on the Pup. I will be casting it. It's going to be at this 5 p.m. Mountain Time on Thursday. So for those who are curious and want to see some pup action, that is going to be happening. They're going to be playing all 5 games regardless of how the score goes. And there's $100 on the line so that they actually try. So just as an FYI, there is that coming on Thursday, on September 19th. Okay, so I've given my piece on that. I just can't tell you guys how much this already makes me excited to play Age of Empires again. But let's move on to the next portion of the patch notes. So now there's adjustable crossbars technology, which pretty much they increased a lot of the university upgrades. This is now 1,000 wood, 1,200 gold. I'm assuming this is this might be a siege engineer, whatever. They've done a lot of that. So essentially, this is a mangonel upgrade. Instead of plus 25 attack speed, it gives you a plus 100% splash radius and plus 1 projectile added to the mangonel attacks. So that's in the Siege Workshop, not the University. Nest of Bees. Ranged armor replaced with, we already know that. Range reduced from 8 to 7. Damage has been naturally reduced because chemistry no longer grants additional base damage for the Nest of Bees. I am going to give a spoiler alert, though, at least in the pup. Nest of Bees are still stupid because they follow units when they fire still. I'm hoping that gets changed. I hope that's a bug and not intended. But as of right now, Nest of Bees don't really work any different than they do right now, other than the range nerf. at least in the pup. Additional barrels technology, it's been increased to 400 wood, 800 gold, and it gives 2 additional rockets instead of just 1. The Robotiquin, health reduced to 225, melee armor has been increased to 15. And then we already know about the Ram and Siege. So, 100% type error. They need to, if they leave Nest of Bees as they are, China and Zushi Legacy are just, their siege is like overpowered because Nest of Bees are ridiculously strong and always have been. Yeah, they didn't touch Nest of Bees. I watched it. I watched a video of it earlier today, and the Nest of Bees did follow, like the rockets followed the units that were moving, whereas Mangonels it did not. But again, hopefully they can get that fixed before the pup releases. All right, so now we're going to go over the university upgrades. Our goal with the university update is to spice up the late game by creating more meaningful set of decisions at the university by altering the cost, effect, or both. Now these upgrades should be both more situational and more powerful. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. There are some new technologies in here, and there's obviously changes. So incendiary arrows has been increased to 500 wood, 1,000 gold. Non-gunpowder units get plus 20% damage and deal additional siege damage to buildings. So now they'll do 3 siege damage to build, or 3 additional siege damage to buildings. Mounted archer type unit deals 3 siege damage. Crossbows deal 4, and tower elephants and Zuganus and stuff I don't think are affected, or they're changed. Yeah, tower elephants are unaffected. And so cavalry archers for Ottomans, spoiler alert, new unit for Ottomans. Mangudai and Zuganu deal 2 damage. And then gilded archers deal 6 siege damage, and the gilded crossbowmen deal 8. The gilded are for Order of the Dragon. Biology has been increased to 500 food, 1,000 gold. Cavalry health is now increased to 30% instead of 20%. For Mongols, the improved is 1,500 stone and grants 40% to all cavalry. And then the French royal bloodlines stays at the same cost, but it does 40% instead of 35%. They have not touched the Nest of Bees spread or splash area that I saw. It all looked the same as it is right now in the current version of the game. Chemistry has been reduced to 200 food, 650 gold, and gunpowder units no longer get the 20% base damage. Wait, effect change from, yeah, so they now get gunpowder siege engines gain plus 25% bonus damage. Gunpowder siege primarily deals damage to specific targets with bonus damage. This change makes gunpowder siege weapons significantly better against specific targets, namely buildings. Elite Army Tactics was increased to 400 food, 1,200 gold. It no longer gives infantry plus 20% health and damage, but it gives plus 40, or not plus 40, plus 4 melee armor and plus 20% base damage. Mongols, it's been adjusted to 1,600 stone and plus 30% damage and plus 6 armor. Japan was changed to plus 20% base damage, plus 4 melee armor, and plus 20% torch damage. Uh-oh, I feel the hiccups coming. Siege Works. Effect changed from plus 20% health and plus 10 ranged armor to siege engines plus 20% health. Again, this is because ranged armor is no longer a thing for siege. It's just ranged resistance. So it doesn't matter how much damage something does, it's going to absorb whatever percentage it's at. New tech, the Serpentine Powder. 300 food, 500 gold. Obviously available. I don't know why they say available in the Imperial Age, because you can't make a university before then anyway, as far as I know. Hand Cannoneers gain plus 8 bonus damage versus melee infantry and a brief boost of movement speed upon firing their weapon. So I do want to note that I read in the current patch with chemistry, hand cannons kill horsemen in 6 shots. In this patch, since chemistry no longer affects hand cannoneers, it takes 9 shots to kill a horseman. I haven't tested that. I haven't seen anyone test that, but I did see someone say that, so I'm just taking their word for it. And now there's a new tech, silk bowstrings, 400 wood, 400 gold. Archers get +2 range. Mounted archers get +1 range. I believe this affects longbows as well. But, so yeah, archers are going to have a lot more range. I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't even know if I care about this one way or the other right now. I have to see this in game to have an opinion because it feels like it could be strong, but it could also just be a whatever change. I don't know. Archers are, one of those units that they get crapped on late game because of men-at-arms and stuff, but they do, they obviously kill spearmen and whatnot. But obviously +2 range is a big upgrade. I don't know how it'll play out, obviously. Zushi does not have access to this. Mongols do not get an improved version of this. And the Seli, Dolton, Tower Elephants do not benefit from this upgrade. All right, so now we're to the general changes. So this is, I like this change, but I do kind of wish they went further with this. Horticulture, fertilization, and precision crossbreeding upgrades effect reduced from 15% to 10%. This is for farm upgrades. So in general, that's what, a 15% nerf to farms in the late game. I know I'm not the only one who's thought this. I know there's actually quite a few top level players I've seen talk about this, is that the general consensus is early farms are too strong. And I mean, the horticulture probably doesn't affect it too much. And I think it's too easy to get a lot of food, especially in the late game, because how often do you see a late game scenario and a player has 20 to 30,000 food really quickly? So this is probably aimed to nerf that a little bit. We'll see how much it affects it, but I am a big fan of that. I honestly think farms in the early game should be nerfed a little bit to encourage civs to go out on the map more. But that's just a personal opinion. We'll see how it plays out, but that is a nerf to farms. Boar food has been increased to 2,200 food instead of 2,000. Extended lines reduced to 15. Drift nets, these are fishing upgrades. Berry gather rate has been increased to 0.69 from 0.66. And then the Abbasid, Delhi, Ayabids berry bonus is reduced to 30% from 35. All tier 2 and 3 economic upgrades get new icons. Acid distillation has been renamed to shaft mining. Melee unit torch damage increased from 16 to 17 in Castle Age and 20 to 22 in Imperial Age. And now here's another change I like. The Palisade wall build time is increased from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. I can hear Avely crying because he loves his walling in the distance. But anyway, so that's a nice change. They do... Obviously, it takes 8 seconds to build a wall. We'll see how that plays out. Outpost health increased from 750 to 800. Kind of a weird buff to them, but okay. And then Roost, Wind Fortress are unchanged. And now Horsemen, attack bonus versus Siege now scales with base damage. Instead of 10 at all ranks, it's adjusted from +10 at all tiers to +8, 9, 11, and 13 for early, so for Mongols, Dark Age, Feudal Age, Veteran, and Elite. Order of the Dragon Guilders are adjusted to +15, 18, 20 instead of +15 at all ranks, and then the Ottomans, Spahi, and Delhi get +9, 11, 13. So now they do deal additional damage based on their upgrade status to Siege. Actually, in-game Nested Bees feel weaker. No chemistry and getting damage from range units hurts them noticeably. Actually, that is a good point that I forgot about. Chemistry doesn't affect Nested Bees, so their damage is weaker than it is currently. But it does still follow units, which I do hope gets changed at some point. Again, I just hope it was an oversight and they changed that before the live version. To be fair, let's pretend that they're not going to change that and they're going to leave Nested Bees as they are. It's not going to take away my excitement from the patch, but maybe I'll get pissed off if I play against China or Zushi and get Nested Bee to death or something. Well, again, we don't know how this is all going to play out. We can only theory craft right now until we actually see games. All right, now let's go to the civilization changes. Additional barrels cost from 200 wood to 500, I think we already talked about this. Yeah, we already talked about this. This is just the change to the Nested Bees to get 2 additional rockets. But the Grenadier has been buffed. Grenadier aim time is reduced from 0.5 to 0 seconds, and the reload time was increased from 0.75 to 1.25. And by the way, puppy, China, OP. I'll say that. I'll say that no matter how their win rates are. I've always hated China in this game. Delhi Sultanate, new naval technology. Bagalas heal 30 health when sinking an enemy ship. Available in Castle Age. I actually don't even know what a Bagala is. That's how much water I've played with Delhi. Actually, no joke. I think I've probably played... I bet I could count on the number on my hands how many games with Delhi I've played on a water map. All right, the Holy Roman Empire. The Minework Palace. The riveted chain has been replaced with owl pikes, which grants +3 damage to spearmen and horsemen, which is a lot. Before, this upgrade was +2 or +3 armor, melee armor, to spearmen and horsemen. Now they deal additional 3 damage, which is, that's actually a lot better than the armor, I think. Garrison relics have now been nerfed. So instead of giving 50% armor, it's now 25% armor, 35% damage to 25% damage. Reinforced defense reduced from +40% health to 25%. Emplacement discounts is now 20%. Town center ranged armor is reduced to 50. And Aachen Chapel range reduced from 7.5 to 6.5. So they've nerfed the Aachen Chapel, and then they buffed the... sorry, one second. And then they buffed the Minework. What's up, Farm Man? I don't know why I just got a bunch of achievements, but okay. That was very random. All right, well, that's going to be part of this video, I guess. Japanese. Each tier of the Daimyo Mainer's farm gather rate are reduced from 25% to 20%. This is to keep Japanese food scaling in line with other civilizations. Man, I'm really crushing this. John d'Arc. Docks now provide +10 additional population space. I'm going to be honest. This is such a random buff or change. Because who picks John d'Arc and goes, or who plays a water map and goes, JD, let's go. Me and you, let's go water. Just seems like an odd buff that I don't feel like changes anything, but maybe I'm wrong. But here's actually a big change. John d'Arc companion riders are moved to the stable. Companion champions move to the barracks. So that means JD can now make their special units that she gets directly from the stable or the barracks instead of a keep. So it's a buff to them for their special units, which I think is a fine change. Kind of separates them out from French a little bit more. Man, I really got a lot of achievements. I'm so good. And then they nerfed him in Nomad by gaining half the experience when constructing a capital town center. Whatever. Malians. Yes, Malians. The Farimba garrison has changed. Aging up with the Farimba now gives you the choice to enlist in one of 3 new units. The Mansa Musafati, the Mansa Javelineer, and the Mansa Freeborn. The Mansa Musafati is a tougher version of the regular Musafati, boasting higher melee armor and health. The Javelineer is a faster moving javelin thrower that deals poison damage. And the Freeborn is a high pierce armor melee unit. The Mansa Musafati and Mansa Javelineer, if I'm saying that wrong, you can make fun of me, replace their counterparts at their respective buildings, whilst the Mansa Freeborn is a new unit that is trainable from the barracks. So you can only enlist in one of the 3 new units? Is my understanding that right? Or I'll have to test that. Maybe look at that later. But it sounds to me like you can only get one of the new units when you age up with the landmark. So, and that's it. So that'll be interesting to see. Oh, you get another an imp. Okay. Oh, it says here. Players can choose another one of the remaining 2 options if they reach the Imperial Age. Okay. So Castle Age you get 1, Imperial Age you get 2, you can choose another one, and then the third one is just gone. So that's very interesting. Like, for example, the Mansa Freeborn, a high pierce armor melee unit. Pierce armor, that's range damage, right? So it's kind of like a men-at-arm. I'll be curious how strong that is. That definitely makes the Farimba garrison more viable, I think. I think you're going to see a lot more Farimba garrison than just cow booming with the cow boom landmark. Then the Sahara Trade Network acts as the toll outpost that comes with the defensive javelins emplacement. In addition to previous effects, the Saharan Trade Network now grants all other toll outposts the defensive javelin emplacement, replacing the standard arrow slits. Javelin emplacements have 8 range, 11 base damage, and 1.38 attack speed with +2 damage versus ranged units. And it only costs 75 gold. Wow. I mean, as Malians, you're pooping out gold the entire game. This is just free. This is a free upgrade for them. I actually think this landmark's probably going to be used more often now. I could be wrong, though. I think it probably depends on the matchup. But that seems pretty strong to me. Let's go to Order of the Dragon. We already talked about the Garrison Relic effect reduced, and the Aachen Chapel has been reduced for them as well. No real changes here. It's the same as Ottomans. All gilded unit castle torch damage increased to 25 from 24, and Imperial was increased to 30 from 28. Ottomans, Janissary guns effect increased from +3 to +5 damage. Now Ottomans are actually, I think, going to be a very interesting civ now. Not that they weren't before, but I think they're going to be more interesting. So their fast training has been removed, and its +25% production speed effect has been added to Advanced Academy. There's 4 new Imperial Council upgrades, extensive fortifications. All garrison arrows are replaced with crossbow bolts, which deal +2 bonus damage versus heavy units. The Temeriots, don't know, enables cavalry archers to be trained from the archery range and military school. And it's a tier 2, so you can get that probably in the feudal age, I imagine. But so cavalry archers, which for those who didn't know, in the early days of Age of Empires 4, the cavalry archer, or in the trailer for the Ottoman Empire, they did show cavalry archers and then they never made it to the game. But now they're in the game. No idea what the stats are. Pax Ottomana, villager production speed increased by 50% for 4 minutes. So it's kind of like faster Song. What's Song Dynasty? 20%? So it's like almost triple Song Dynasty except for 4 minutes. And then the Great Bombard. A Great Bombard arrives at the capital town center. Early version used before Imperial Age. Early version being a weaker version of the Great Bombard if you get it before Imperial Age. Because that's right, guys. You can theoretically get a Great Bombard in the feudal age. Unlikely, but it is possible. Trade bags and siege crews have been moved from tier 2 to tier 4. Military schools, knight production speed reduced by 28%, janissary production speed reduced by 25%. This is just to ensure that knights and janissaries produce for the same resource per minute like the military schools. Janissaries received a ranged unit tag, received a new light ranged gunpowder infantry tag. Normal hand cannoneers no longer classified as light. Archers gain bonus versus light gunpowder infantry. Bonus damage versus cavalry reduced from 1620 to 1215. Ooh, that's actually a pretty big nerf to bonus damage versus cavalry. Probably needed though. As a result of these changes, janissaries will only receive bonus damage from receive bonus damage from archers rather than all ranged attacks, and will be less extreme in its relationship versus cavalry units. They say new Ottoman cavalry archers are powerful. Yeah, we'll definitely have to see them in action. Hopefully we do on Thursday. We'll see. Rus, fortified palisade wall build time was increased to 8 seconds, kind of matching the other civilizations. Banded arms technology, range effect for Springles increased from 0.5 to 0.1, which is just a range increase, and that's kind of a revert of the old, because I think it before was 1 before they nerfed it, when Springles were a anti-siege unit. Zushi Legacy. New technology, Dowley horses. All cavalry gain plus 20% attack speed, 75 food, 175 gold. Available in the feudal age. Wow, that seems really strong. All cavalry gain a plus 20% attack speed. Imperial Guard reload time adjusted to 1.75. Yuan Raider reload time adjusted to 1.62. New technology, hard case bombs. Grenadiers get +2 bonus versus light infantry. Costs 100 food, 150 gold. Available in the Castle Age. Early Grenadier becomes available in the Castle Age, obviously, as that upgrade says. And then and we already talked about the Grenadier attack made response. So Zushi got a lot more interesting, actually, because now they're not. I don't feel like they're as much of a budget China with the cavalry change, and now they get early Grenadiers, which we'll see how that plays out. So, if you saw if you listened to me rant about all those patch changes, you now know why I'm super excited for this patch. Essentially, going to be playing Age of Empires 4 again. Again, not going to be 5 days a week. I just can't do that right now. But I'll be playing more often when the patch comes out. And the pup, I'm definitely going to be playing that actually starting now. Or at least we're going to be testing some things. And that's the patch notes.